Joe Biden is a billion points ahead of Bernie Sanders in the polls. It must be true. It must be true. The polls all say he's so far ahead. Yeah. The polls can say anything they want at this point. They're completely inaccurate and meaningless. And so why is the mainstream media suddenly hyping in a big way the candidacy, the doomed candidacy of Joe Biden? And you know what? It really boils down to one thing. It boils down to the fact that Kamala Harris turned out to be a horrible candidate. Now, if you look at news reports and articles in the mainstream media from about a year ago or even less, even 6 months ago, she was, the buzz was about her, about Kamala Harris. They were so happy about her and everything. Now, had her candidacy remained viable, they would be ignoring or downplaying Joe Biden the big way. But because her candidacy, Kamala Harris's candidacy, is such a disaster, they have no choice, because right now the main goal of the mainstream media is to prevent the nomination of Bernie Sanders. That's the one thing they don't want to do, because they know he'll be the McGovern of 2020. But the ironic thing is they're promoting Biden as the designated Mondale of 2020. He has no chance. I don't even think he's going to be nominated. Very likely he's going to he looks tired already. He looks worn. I won't be surprised if he just drops out of the race. But let's have an example let's take a look at an example of just how horrible of a candidate Kamala Harris is. I mean, she has no charisma. She's not an interesting person, not likable. I mean, but let's look at her at the CNN town hall from just recently, from April.
But people who are convicted in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation.
Yeah, always wanting a conversation. It's just Harris's way of kicking the can down the road and actually avoiding having a conversation on a controversial subject. And by the way, the very next day, her campaign, probably when she said that on national TV, her campaign aides were going, no, don't say that. Are you crazy? Because the next day, she completely reversed course and said, of course I wouldn't want terrorists to be able to vote. But that was just an example of her horrible campaigning. But let's take a look at the criticism of Kamala Harris and her affinity for always having conversations all the time. And it comes not from some vicious right-wing source. No. This is from Politico magazine. So let's go take a look at that. Here's the article from Politico. And here you can see Kamala Harris, who always seems to want to have a conversation. It's better than actually making a decision. And here it is, the article by Jack Schaefer, May 7th. It was a week ago. And it's titled, Why Politicians Love to Monologue About Conversation. And the subtitles, Calling for a Dialogue is an Easy Way to Avoid Actually Having One. Oh, so true. And this is about politicians, but it really focuses in on Kamala Harris and her conversation shtick. So here it is. Would it be impolite of me to say shut up to the next politician who invites me to engage in a national conversation? Over the past 3 months, notables have banged their lecterns demanding national conversations about healthcare disparities, abortion, hazing on college campuses, higher education, guns, gender, Joe Biden's touchy ways, privacy, spousal abuse, the college admissions process, blackface, transportation, crime, the opioid crisis, and more. The genius of making a call for national conversation is that it is a way of making a topic look like a priority while requiring no energy from its promoter to actually make it one. This is one of the reasons presidential candidates seem attracted to the trope. Appearing on a CNN town hall in late April, Senator Kamala Harris invoked the magic word after she was asked her position on Bernie Sanders' view that the other states should follow Vermont's lead and allow felons to vote from prison. I think we should have that conversation, Harris said, dodging the simple question. Yeah, it is a dodge. This is the funny part. This is beautiful. Harris's conversational enthusiasm evaporated the next day as she reversed herself, tersely saying, with no qualification, that murderers and terrorists should be denied the ballot. That marked an end to Harris's felony vote dialogue, but not the end of her affinity for conversation. Last Sunday, at an NAACP dinner in Detroit, she cited the conversation about who is the most electable Democrat in the race and offered her view. Who is electable? It is all of us, Harris said, more or less ending the need for a conversation again. So there you have it. Bottom line here, Kamala Harris, just an awful, awful candidate. And that's why we see this mainstream media supporting Biden. Otherwise, they would be supporting Harris, as they probably intended to do, but before they realized how god-awful of a candidate Harris is. So, as we've seen, it looks like Kamala Harris is pretty much a gunner. I think, what is she, like number 4 or 5 in the polls now? And speaking of polls, as I said, they're remarkably inaccurate at this stage of the game. As far as Biden's supposed big lead over Bernie Sanders, come on. First of all, I checked. They only made a few hundred phone calls on that poll, and you know who answers their phone? Seriously, I answer my phone rarely. And in the few times I do answer my phone, I almost always regret it because it's either a person or a robot pitching me something. So I rarely answer my phone. The only people that really answer their phone on a regular basis are people without a life. That's true. Lonely people without a life. Let's say a typical call on this Biden poll. Some guy answers the phone. Hello, yeah. Oh, hello, sonny boy. Oh, you want my opinion on the election? Who's running for mayor? Huh? Oh, for president. I don't know. How about I like cherry pie. No, what? Oh, you need a No, I just like cherry pie. I don't know who's running. Okay, who's the candidates? Joe Biden? Yeah. Who else? Joe Biden? Yeah. Who else? Joe Biden? No, give me some other names. Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris. Let's see, who else? I don't recognize these names. Pete, Booty, Geg, Edge. Who? What? Wayne Messam? Who? Okay. And what? I can't hear you. You're whispering it. Can you speak louder? I can barely hear it. What? Bernie Sanders? What? Okay. All right. So my pick? I still like cherry pie. What? You keep saying Joe Biden. I want cherry pie. Joe Biden? No. Oh, okay. If you want me to put me down with Joe Biden, but can I still have cherry pie? Oh no! Don't get off the phone, sonny boy. Oh, I need to talk to somebody. Please don't get off the phone. Oh. Well, anyway, just to leave you with another example of just how terrible Kamala Harris is, and why the mainstream media is really pitching Joe Biden. It's actually pretty pathetic. I mean, I saw a video of or a picture of Joe Biden in the Virgin Islands a few weeks ago, and he seemed so happy. He seemed content, and I guarantee you, right in the middle of this campaign, during the grueling campaign, I know for him it's like a legacy nomination. He ran for president a couple times. He put in 40-some years in the Senate, so he's trying to be a legacy nomination like Bob Dole was, and then there was McCain. So I guess he thinks this would be a nice feather in his cap. I doubt he even realize he even thinks he's going to win for president. But you know what? To get that legacy nomination, especially now in the current Democrat Party full of lunatics, it's a grind. And at some point, he's just going to say, you know what? I don't need this. Can I just go down to the Virgin Islands and the Caribbean and just relax and sit in the sand and snorkel around? I mean, seriously, that's what I would love to do. Wouldn't you? I mean, who needs this with this campaigning bit? So I think that's what's going to happen. As far as Kamala Harris, she's going nowhere. Let's take a look at her. Another example of her completely freezing when questioned about the Jussie Smollett case.
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern day lynching that.
Sorry.
Yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding, and I'm very concerned about, obviously.
One more thing about that Jussie Smollett case and Kamala Harris. I was wondering, how the hell does Jussie Smollett and his family have that power to get the prosecutor who recused herself? She recused herself. Kim Foxx recused herself to unrecuse herself. Not only unrecuse herself, but to get the charges dropped after the grand jury investigated and found that there were recommended charges, and had the court records sealed. How could his family and him have that power? And you know what? They don't. They don't have the power. It's ridiculous to think that they would. But you know who does have the power and was desperate to keep this case from going to trial? Is who's in tight with Jussie Smollett in a political way? Michelle Obama, Chicago, remember Chicago? And you can see it, Kamala Harris was very in tight with Jussie Smollett. In fact, she jumped in right away when the attack was a hoax to any thinking person. She said this was a horrible attack and all this stuff. Now, as you saw what happened when she was questioned about it, she just froze up. And I think she also had to put pressure on. It must have been an enormous amount of pressure, because Kim Foxx must have said, listen, I'd like to help you and everything, but I'm going to look like a completely corrupt prosecutor. And they probably told her, he says, listen, we know it's horrible. It's going to look corrupt. You're going to look terrible. You'll be mocked. Any career that you have in law enforcement is probably over, but we'll make it up to you somehow. But whatever it takes, we have to get the charges against Jussie Smollett dropped. So there's still a lot to be learned about that. Jussie Smollett and Kamala Harris, along with Michelle Obama. So bottom line here, as I said, the complete collapse of the Kamala Harris candidacy is the sole reason why the big media hype for Joe Biden. And that's it. It all boils down to that. Kamala Harris is a horrible, horrible candidate. And so the mainstream media, in order to try to prevent the nomination of Bernie Sanders, which they know what that's going to lead to. They're hyping Joe Biden the big way, and it's laughable. See you guys later.